Linda. Welcome to the podcast. Thanks so much for being here.
Absolute pleasure, Jackie. Thank you.
And as I said before we started recording, I want to jump straight in and get really practical with you. You've got so much wisdom, both through transitions and challenges you've had in your own life, but also having dived deeply and really learnt a lot through those processes and everything that you offer now. So I guess if our listeners are going through some kind of major transition in life, whether it's career, marriage, someone's passed, these big life events, and there's often some kind of legal challenge around that as well, adding to stress. How do we manage on a day-to-day basis with some really practical things?
Such a brilliant question. And, it really brings back for me what it was like I call it my mad mum years, where I was mum of 4 young children, working in a full-time job in a middle management position with a husband doing shift work. And I was feeling literally like I was going insane. I just was not coping with it. And at that point in my life, I didn't really have good coping mechanisms at all. So, um, my chosen method of management at that point in my life was to just chuck it in, quit my job,
Yeah.
and, turn to a completely different career path and career choice. And,
Yeah.
that's how I've ended up where I am today. In making that decision and taking those steps, and even as I started unraveling things, personally for myself, I learned a lot of great skills, which we've all heard about, things like yoga. You can get up and do yoga and really bring your focus and your concentration into the moment as you connect with each of those positions.
Mhm.
And that in itself is a skill, and it's a wonderful way to train yourself to get out of the continual circus of thoughts, the catastrophizing that goes on, the worry about what's going to happen tomorrow, and all of those sort of things.
Mm.
Anything that we can do to bring us back into the body and into the present moment, where we can feel like right here, right now, I'm safe. I'm not under immediate threat. I can breathe. I'm safe. The more often we can do that, the easier it becomes for us to find that state and to bring it into that maelstrom that we're in of absolute, oh my God, how do I manage the next step? So I point out yoga because that was my starting point. And it was the place where I really learned to come back into the body and to stop following those thoughts, and to really listen to, oh shit, that really hurts. Oh, sorry. Am I allowed to talk like
Yes,
that?
please.
Um, you know, that really hurts. Wonder why. And really start listening to my body saying, I want you to hold me a different way. So, pain is a really good disruptor. Um, and using those little messages from the body to actually come back into the present moment is often the starting place for a lot of people, which is a real shame.
Mm.
Building on that, meditation is another gift that a lot of people know about.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, when we're in that heightened state of absolute fight or flight, that's where our stress has taken us. Getting out of the mind can be really, really difficult.
Mm.
So I recommend actually taking it back further and just breathing, just connecting with the breath. And again, that's about getting into the body. It's really connecting back in the body. We need to get out of the mind, into the body. And if we're dealing with stress, the body is the best place to be, because we can stop feeding the stress by what's going on in the head. That's where all our stress is coming from. So those are the two key foundational starting points. You've got get into the body and breathe. Then you can teach yourself to breathe and just be present. Just be present. So we're not ever going to turn those circling thoughts off, but we're going to get a point where we can actually take a step back from them. possibly even put them in another room and shut the door momentarily so we can't hear them quite so loudly, so that we can actually have a space where we go, right, okay, it feels really good to not be worrying about the next thing that's coming or to be regretting what I didn't do yesterday. Yeah, this actually feels really good. And once we start acknowledging and noticing how good it feels to not be following the thoughts and not caught, it gets easier to do the things like meditation and yoga and so on that help strengthen that feeling, to do the practice, because it's not something you can just immediately do. It's the thing we really need, but it's the thing that takes practice to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was just going to go there myself, because we have to consciously force ourselves to do it because we're tending in the other direction when we're super stressed. And then, as you said, to finally start allow yourself to feel some relief. Because I think when we get ourselves into some of these big life-changing events, we blame ourselves, and so we don't want to allow ourselves to feel relief. We want to inflict some extra pain on causing the issue, or we think I'm not allowed to be happy or feel peace at this point in time. And so even hearing you say that, you actually do have a permission to have moments where you feel safe. I mean, that's a huge thing, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. I think most of us unconsciously walk around in fear
Mm,
just for the very fact that we're women. Um,
mm,
that the world is unsafe for us, generally speaking.
mm,
Yeah, at some, really deep subconscious level.
mm.
Um, and, just hearing you speak then just reminded me, we were talking before the recording started. One of the really fabulous tools to actually disrupt that sense of panic that can come in is tapping. That's one of the easiest tools to access and gives you fairly immediate sense of relief. So, yeah, feeling safe is a wonderful thing, but actually disrupting what's going on long enough for you to even think about, oh, I think I might just breathe. Breathing's a good thing. We forget because
Yeah.
we get into a state where we're like this and we're breathing in the upper part of our chest and and it just feeds the stress. So we need to. So sometimes something as simple as tapping, and if people are unfamiliar with that emotional freedom technique, Googling YouTube will bring you up lots and lots and lots and lots of videos on all sorts of different topics that people like to tap on. That will give you a really good introduction to a really powerful, easy to use self-regulation tool. It really is.
Yeah, I can
So,
attest to that. I think it's
yeah,
one of the techniques that works the best for me because I forget other ones for some reason, but tapping
yeah,
is really easy and effective, and you just find yourself starting to do it, and then it pulls you back in your body, and then you do it a bit more effectively, and it calms the system.
it does. Yeah, it really decompresses the nervous system. It releases stuck energy. It helps the subconscious take a really good shift. Things that we are repressing that we're not even aware of suddenly come up, and it's like, oh, is that why I feel like that? Oh, okay, I can get rid of that. And I think the other really powerful thing about tapping and about a lot of the things that we do is there's an instinctive element to it. Some of us do these things instinctively without even being aware.
Mm.
And so, with tapping, there's all this repetition work and understanding what's going on in the mind as well as the body and some routines to follow. But a really shorthand, quick, easy way to do tapping is literally just tapping the fingertips together. And this is one of the things, that when you're in public, you don't want to be doing all the tapping around the head, the face, the arms, etc. But just doing this is often enough to start alleviating what you're feeling in the moment. And I know for myself, when I was really stressed at work, like going into staff meetings and, just being under the pump at work, I would actually sit and be squeezing my fingers
Hmm.
under the table, squeezing the tips of my fingers. And what's actually going on there is a number of the Chinese meridian channels that you may be aware of actually start and end at the fingertips. So that's one of the other reasons why tapping is so powerful, is because it's addressing the meridian system of the body. So yeah, all without knowing it, I was supporting my heart, my lungs, my large intestine, my small intestine, areas that help that feeling of well-being, the feeling of being open and breathing, the feeling that I can actually process what's coming to me. All of those areas were being supported. So pay attention to what you're actually doing instinctively. There might be something that you're already doing that is bringing a level of soothing that you can tap into, pardon the pun, and make use of. Yeah.
That's wonderful. All right. So we have a couple of techniques now to come to immediately if we're feeling overwhelmed and really stressed. And of course, if these sort of situations in your life go on for months and months and into years, the chronic stress on our bodies can have quite an impact. What do you sort of recommend for people just in that chronic long-term sort of situation where, yeah, they can deal with small moments, but there's this overarching impact that can have health effects, obviously, long term?
Absolutely.
Mm.
Look, the number one go-to for me is Reiki.
Mm.
And Reiki is one of those things that you don't have to be special. Anybody can be attuned to Reiki. Anyone can place their hands on themselves and allow healing energy to flow. The
Mm.
beautiful thing about Reiki is the very first level of Reiki is all about yourself. It's all about self-healing. Now, the thing with Reiki is, research shows Reiki calms the nervous system. Reiki switches you out of the flight and fight mode and into the rest digest mode. So this automatically gives you something to begin your day, to end your day in a way that the nervous system can go, oh, thank God. I can let all of that stuff go.
Mm.
Over and above that, my personal experience of Reiki was when I started doing Reiki for myself, it created this general softness in my world. It was like the hard edges just really sort of got diffused.
Mm.
It was a beautiful softness. My family calmed, my husband calmed, just the whole house felt really good. And the thing that's really potent about Reiki is, as you can do it for yourself, it's one of those things, when you just need a hug, you just need someone, just hold me just for a moment and let me know it's okay.
Mhm.
Reiki does that for you. You can do that for yourself anytime. And you don't have to do anything else with it. And the really key thing about Reiki is you can do it anytime and nobody knows you're doing it. We do breathing and meditation, and people at work know that that's what you're doing. But you can be sitting at your desk or in a meeting or wherever and I'm just letting Reiki flow and I feel good and I can cope. And as Reiki flows through you, all of those around you who are open to receiving at an unconscious level also feel the influence and effect of Reiki.
Yeah, that's sort of the little note that I just jotted down then, where I wanted to sort of go next, because as you said, that hard edges start softening. I love that. That was beautiful. And then people around you started having subtle changes without you actually doing anything different. This was just the energy you were using.
Yeah.
And so I suppose as well, like on a bigger scale, having impacts on situations just because you're dealing with your own energy can also work, can't it?
Absolutely.
Mm,
I firmly believe that when we turn our attention onto ourselves
mm,
and really do that soul searching, that seeking, that looking to find the way to be our own full potential,
mm,
we do that for everybody else as well. And
mm,
we give everybody else around us the permission
mm,
to, be a little bit self centered. There's actually nothing wrong with being self centered. In
mm,
fact, it's a good thing.
mm.
Yeah.
And so if you're doing some energy healing for yourself and really just feeling that beautiful energy, do you also set intentions when you're doing that? Or are you really just feeling the hug and the safety and the love? Is that all that's needed?
Um, Look, when you're doing Reiki for yourself, just do it.
Yeah. Mm,
Just do it.
mm, mm.
Feel your heart, feel the gut,
Yeah.
whatever it is, with Reiki,
Yeah.
or just, a self hug
Mm,
to just feel comfort, to feel safe, to feel okay.
mm.
All you need to do. Reiki does everything else. You know, um, Practitioner level is different,
Yeah.
but self Reiki, just do it. I
Yeah.
can't recommend it highly enough. It's the easiest thing in the world, and it
Mm.
is so powerful,
Well, all these
so
practices that
gentle.
we've spoken about are very easy as well. And I think that that's
Yeah,
potentially why a lot of them get discarded because either the the magic of them's not fully believed, or you try it one or
mm,
two times and you don't have an instant relief or impact. Um, but I guess just to encourage people to keep using it for at least consciously for like a period of time to allow it to work. Do you recommend
yeah,
that sort of thing?
absolutely. Look,
Mm,
I think there is a way of operating
mm,
where we go, self-care activity, tick, I've done
mhm,
my yoga today, I've done my meditation today, I'm all good. And we walk away and walk back into our world.
mm,
What we actually need to start learning is how to bring that into our world.
mm,
So, particularly mindfulness practice. Um, Mindfulness is absolutely wonderful for soothing the mind, but it takes practice. And this is the thing, these things are easy, they are accessible in that, you can just stop and do it.
mm.
But achieving the effect and the result that you want takes practice,
Yeah.
and it takes self compassion.
Mm,
You need to let go of judgment. You need to let go of self blame. You need to understand that you are doing the absolute best that you can do right now, and you're doing it the right way. Whatever it is you're doing, it's the right way. You're not doing it wrong.
mm,
And the thing with mindfulness in particular is it allows us to actually become the observer consciously. Meditation does the same thing as well, but mindfulness provides a platform for us to do it at a more conscious level.
yeah.
And when we become the observer, that's when we can notice, oh, the things I'm telling myself are not founded in truth. This is utter bullshit. I don't believe it anymore. And it takes practice to be able to get to that.
Yeah.
But then we bring that observer into our world, and we notice when we're starting to act mindlessly
Mm,
rather than respond mindfully.
mm,
So we're able to take that breath to look at what's really going on, not what the emotional body wants us to react to.
mm,
Yeah.
mm.
So, yeah, it takes practice, but they're so powerful. And
Yeah.
the peace they bring you is absolutely worth it.
And that is true self-regulation, not just reactivity. And
Yeah.
I would hope that it gets to the point where it's then very natural rather than consciously having to be mindful and bringing yourself back to the observer as you're talking about. Um, a period of time that you are going to have to do it fairly consciously, but then it becomes more and more of an easy process. And aren't we ultimately, that's who we truly are, is the observer, not our thoughts, not that level. So very freeing, I think.
Absolutely. And it makes life a lot less serious and a lot more fun, because everything's not life or death, and when we're in that really heightened state of chronic stress,
Yeah.
it just feels like if I make one wrong move,
Yeah,
my world is going to explode.
it does.
And when we're able to really connect with that observer and look at what's truly going on, not what we think is going on, it gives you a whole new perspective and the ability to be able to, I choose not to see it like this anymore. I'm going to do it differently. And all of a sudden, you have options and choices. I can choose to continue operating this way, or if I did this, these might be the consequences. Am I willing to live with those consequences? Yeah, I am. Okay, well, I'm going to try this and see what it's like, rather than being so bound in by fear that we can't change anything at all.
It sort of reminded me of the concept that if we just remembered that, the universe is not here to test us, the universe is actually friendly, it does lighten the load and make it a bit more fun, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah. Yeah, I think we come into this plane with this embedded idea that life has to be hard, and we make it bloody hard. We do.
We do. We create our own reality, and if we do think it's hard, then it will be hard, won't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, what a mind shift.
I know.
I hope that, the wisdom that you've just shared, and, it's just sort of released a whole lot in me just talking about this. I hope that, the listeners are experiencing it through just listening to us. I wanted to shift a little bit and talk to you about your book, Invisible Woman, because last time we spoke, it was in the works and hadn't quite come yet. But tell us all about it and the message that you share.
Okay, thanks so much. Yes, my lovely book. I finally released it last year, and I've released the paperback version this year, just a couple of months ago. So for those who like real books like I do, like to hold it, it's there. So my book is written for women with chronic illness and invites a new perspective on it, that rather than asking, why is this happening to me? Asking, why is this happening for me? And looking at working with the symptoms, the outcomes, the environment that it creates, working with that as a pathway to ascension. So it's a spiritual development pathway. So essentially, from my perspective, all healing is about getting to know yourself and falling in love with yourself and reconnecting with the fact that you are divine. There is a divine light within you, and that's where all your medicine lies. So if we can connect with that divine light, we can start flooding it out through our body and flooding it out through the world. We're going to heal ourselves and we're going to heal the world. So although, I said I've written it for women with chronic illness, a lot of people have come back to me and said, look, any woman, doesn't matter what they're going through, whether it's a highly stressful situation, whether it's traumatic birth experience, whether it's transitioning through menopause, or just living in a chronic state of stress, which let's face it, most of us are, there's something in there for everyone. So yes, I direct it specifically to dealing with chronic illness, but you can put in there whatever it is that you're dealing with, because the tips, the techniques, the activities, the exercises, the things that I share in that book are general healing things that if you set the intention for a specific thing, that's where it will help you the most. So don't know if I shared with you before that I have fibromyalgia.
You did.
So a part of the book is I share a bit of my journey about,
Mm,
how it came to be and how I manage it and what lessons I've actually learned from dealing with this chronic illness myself.
mm, mhm,
So that's essentially the book in a nutshell. And I do also talk a little bit about business and the divine feminine,
mm,
because one of the strong currents running through my book is about our loss of connection with the sacred feminine. And
mhm,
that is a lot of the source of our disease.
mm.
So, yeah, there's a very strong element of reconnecting with that. So I bring it into the business realm a bit too.
Sounds wonderful. It sounds like it really could be an accessible point for anyone, as you said, not just starting with chronic illness, but if we do look at chronic stress as an illness, and it certainly creates diagnosable illnesses if you're chronically stressed.
Absolutely.
Yeah, better
Yes.
to get in there before it creates a diagnosable illness. Um, and ascend, as you say. What an amazing goal. Ascension.
Yeah. 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 Well, if
Mm.
we're all working on it,
Yes.
it's going to happen in my lifetime. Wouldn't that be cool?
That would be very cool. That would be very
Yeah.
cool. And, we know that it's quite often a challenging event that causes transformation in people's lives, but it doesn't have to be something that, comes at you like a truck. You can actually make the choice, can't you?
Yeah, you can. And
Mm,
I think, that's an important thing to note. For some of us, it does come as a traumatic event that
mm,
out of the blue, a car accident,
mm,
a terminal illness, whatever.
mm.
But for so many of us, we get signals for so long that we
Mhm.
just ignore. And then ultimately we manifest something
Yeah.
major that makes us stop and reassess things completely.
Mm,
So, I guess what really makes me feel hope and positive for the future is seeing the younger and younger people having more awareness about who they are and what it is they do and how they do it. This level of awareness that I see in young people compared to, when I look at myself at the same age, I was just like, I had no clue,
mm,
absolutely no clue. I was just bumbling my way through life. That gives me a real sense of hope that we're well and truly on the pathway,
mm,
because we have more um, educated souls coming
mm,
through, I
mm,
guess, or less, they've suffered less amnesia coming through or whatever. Yeah, there's just a sense that there's a momentum really building.
mm, mhm. Yeah, it is lovely to watch. I think there's more and more stuff that's mainstream, and particularly for younger and younger people. So it's
Yeah,
very exciting, and I'm going to bring it into the legal industry.
yay. I
We're all going
love
to be
it.
able to set our intentions before going into something stressful and bring our Reiki with us and sit in the back of the court, emanating love, and
I
get
love
far
it.
better results.
Yeah. Well, look, you have a sterling example in the medical field,
Mhm.
in that Reiki is invited into a number of hospitals in overseas countries.
Mm,
Australia's not quite as enlightened at this point, but we're
mm,
we're changing it. But coming into operating theatres and being used in a raft of different areas. I just can't think of any off the top of my head.
mm,
Um, but we're getting anecdotal feedback from surgeons and from doctors about the effect that they see from having Reiki present in the room, which is things like less bleeding, faster wound healing, calmer patients, less pain medication needed in recovery, all of these sorts of things when you invite Reiki in. So I love that you want to bring this idea and this energy into another area
mm,
where people are suffering so much.
mm,
I mean, they
mm.
don't need to be.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's awesome. I've got goosebumps, Jackie. This is awesome.
Yeah, and look, again, so brilliant to talk to you about all this stuff and go really deep into it. For those who want to find the book, who want to find you and work with you, because you can work with anyone from anywhere on Zoom, tell us where they should go.
You can find me on Facebook at
Right.
Transform with Love Lali,
Mhm.
or you can find me on my website, lovelali.com.
Easy
And if you're
places.
wondering how to spell Love Lali, I've contracted the 3 words love, laugh, live, because that's the outcome I want for everybody.
That's beautiful. I didn't realize that's what it came from.
Yeah. Yep.
Lovely.
Wish them.
Thank you so much for your time and wisdom, Linda.
Oh, you're most welcome. Thank you, Jackie. It's been a pleasure to be here.